So I want to bend down into that corner so that I can just put a straight piece on the side. We're going to let this fold in the corner the way it needs to. Okay, then going up the wall, you want to put a bead all the way up along here. Put our niche in. Okay, so which one is it? Which is the best waterproofing? Which one is the best for your own situation? That is probably the biggest question I get about on my entire platform, is what system to use for a walk-in shower for waterproofing before the tile. So first off, thanks for joining me for this live stream. I just kind of wanted to, you know, I'm all over the place, as you can see. Everybody always asks me, why do you do so many systems? Like, what is the point of doing, you know, which one's better, or which one is the one that you recommend the most? And that's a really hard question to answer. Mainly because it comes down to four things that I've kind of come up with. So number one is the availability. So this was a really big problem in the last couple of years, you know, especially since COVID. It was really difficult to get all types of materials. So we were, you know, basically left to whatever was in the stores. So that was, you know, and it still kind of is an issue, but things seem to have cleared up with that. But availability is still a big deal. I mean, there's a lot of places that can't get all the materials that I demonstrate. So that's number one of how to decide about it. Number two is the cost. Everything's always about how much everything's going to cost. What is it going to cost to have my bathroom renovated, and what is the waterproofing going to cost? That is a big factor with it. Labor, you know, if you're doing this as a contractor working for somebody, you know, you're going to have to account for how much more time it might take to do a membrane like this versus just doing that go board, you know, basically a sealant application. The labor is going to be a little less expensive for doing, you know, the foam boards, because it is that much easier. So labor comes into play. And if you're a homeowner doing this yourself, you know, how much time do you really have to be able to get this done? Do you want to start tiling right in the first day, or can you afford to wait until the next weekend to get started? So it really comes down to labor as well. And if you're a homeowner going to be, you know, paying for somebody to do this stuff, you know, the labor is going to be probably pretty expensive. So you have to consider that as well. And then fourth is your skill set. So there's a lot of people that don't like messing around with thin set. That might be some of the reason why people don't like tiling or are anxious about tiling, because of the mess and all the thin set established. So, you know, sometimes these membrane adhesions are maybe not for everybody. So it does come down to skill set and what you're comfortable in doing. But hey, thanks again for everyone joining me tonight. Give me a thumbs up on this video. It definitely helps out other people in here. But I wanted to go over, since you know, basically, since I know that most people kind of jump off kind of quickly, I did kind of go over a little basically what everything cost in that video. So I'm basically going to reference what it did to do this shower. So that's tonight's evening's live stream is going to be about using a liquid waterproofing over a cement board. So let me just show you real quick. This is the shower tiled already. So if you guys have been following along, you know I'm in this basement bathroom renovation, and I'm doing live streams as I'm completing it, and I'm also building out my course as well. But I just put down the pebble stone today, and we'll be ready to start sealing that tomorrow, and then hopefully get grouting by Friday. But this is what it looks like so far. Really happy with the overall look. That nice teal tile really has a beautiful different colors to it. And as you can see, I have a little recessed niche with a quartz bottom sill to it. So really excited to get this faucet in here as well. It's going to look tremendous. But this shower is basically 3 foot by, or 4 foot wide by 3 foot deep. So that gives you kind of a reference there. That's basically what I'm going to be basically quoting all these other systems on, based off of this here, including the ceiling as well, because I did do the ceiling, and I think it is important to waterproof that. This is in a basement bathroom, by the way, and I don't know, the ceiling is optional. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it does kind of give a really great feel to it. But looking at my list here, I just put this together just now because I really wanted to kind of give a cost variation of these different systems, because that's definitely a big factor for a lot of people when it comes to doing it, especially if you're doing it on your own and you want to be able to afford those nicer things in your bathroom. You know, the waterproofing at the end of the day, it's great, but it's not really exciting. You're covering it up with tile anyways. You're never going to see it again. So I can understand where you don't want to spend an enormous amount of money on this, but that's where skill set and, you know, extra time to be able to do these other systems come into play. So the first one, which you probably see me do multiple times on this channel, is Go Board. So Go Board, I needed about 7 sheets to do this little small bathroom, about 100 square feet of waterproofing, and then we had the ceiling as well. So 7 sheets is about 200 bucks. You can get this. I even have links in here to the product just to kind of reference with it. But basically at the towel shop right now, it's selling for about 28 bucks a sheet. And that's fairly reasonable. I'm sure if you're a contractor, you can get a better deal than that. But you know, just say roughly 28 bucks or 30 bucks a sheet. So 200 bucks for the actual Go Board. You'll need the fasteners. You'll need sealant because it's a sealant application. That's 120 bucks. And then the big thing is that you have to waterproof this shower pan. We did a mud bed system on this shower. So if you want to, you know, in my course, I kind of highlight the entire process. So if you guys are interested and you want to follow along and get all the videos included in this entire bathroom renovation, check out my DIY Geek membership. It incorporates this course that's going in there now, has all the basically everything outlined of what I've done so far. But looking at, you know, we did a mortar bed, and I think it made the most sense because we're doing curbless. So we had a concrete floor, so we did a mortar bed shower pan, so you had to waterproof that as well. So that's where the waterproofing is still going to be, you know, I recommend a liquid waterproofing over a mud bed. You can also do like Schluter-Curdy type of membrane, but you know, you're going to have to address that as well. So it's not just about the wall board, it's about waterproofing the mortar bed as well. So getting back to my comparison here, I just basically picked a waterproofing for the floor. So say if you wanted to use Hydroban, this is a very popular type of waterproofing. It's similar to Red Guard, only a lot better if you ask me. If I were to go with a boxed or a pre-made liquid membrane, I would go with something like Hydroban. It dries very quickly, and it really has a great adhesion to it, and it's going to waterproof. So about 100 bucks is what you would need to be able to waterproof that shower pan, and you're going to want the mesh that goes along with it. So the mesh is what you put in the corners, and you're going to want to seal that to the Go Board. So all in all, 500 bucks, 495 bucks is what I pretty much kind of estimated for Go Board. Now what we're going to be getting into tonight is using good old cement board with Ardex 8+9. Ardex 8+9 is essentially just a liquid waterproofing, but it's like a 2-part system. And the reason I'm calling it Bulletproof is because this is probably the most robust type of liquid waterproofing that I can think of or know of. The Hydroban is great, but this stuff is definitely, it's like a rhino liner. It's like, it's so thick and you can smell the polymer in it. It's like really becomes a really thick membrane. That's why I'm considering it kind of bulletproof, waterproofing. It also sets up in about 90 minutes, so you can get 2 coats of this on in a day pretty easily. I did not do that in this case because of, you know, the videoing and all the stuff that's associated with it. So I did it over a 2-day process of liquid waterproofing, because we put up the cement board and then we did our first coat of the liquid membrane. But I highly recommend it. I think it's a really great product, but we were just going over good old cement board. So we still needed 7 sheets of that. We needed fasteners. None of the fasteners are cheap for this stuff. So you got 35 bucks for fasteners. I did go through 3 units of this stuff because I ended up waterproofing the entire outside floor. So all in all, it wasn't a cheaper cost. It was 580 bucks. So we're still about 80 bucks above what Go board would have cost. Now there's an argument to be said about cement board. I mean, cement board is definitely rock solid stuff. You know, it's stuff that has the test of time behind it. It's been around forever, and it's definitely, it really gives a really solid feel. So, you know, if you're ever skeptical of any of these foam boards for any reason, you know, good old cement board is one way to go. So reasonable price. You know, the length of time to be able to liquid waterproof this compared to Go board is a little bit of a longer process, but it's kind of foolproof in a way, because you're liquid waterproofing the entire system. And that's one other thing, you know, you might want to consider as well, is that if you're doing something like this, you're able to use one product waterproofing everything and getting that warranty from the company, if that means anything to you. The second one that I was showing was Weedy. It used to be one of my favorite basically boards, foam boards out there, but the price has gotten absolutely ridiculous. We're looking at $78 a sheet now. This is at Tile Shop. Now, obviously, that's retail price. You probably still, yeah, contractor price, you might be 65 bucks a sheet. I don't know. It's gotten out of hand. Just put it that way. I've pretty much stopped using their product because it's just gotten way, way too expensive to use. And there's other foam boards that kind of equivalent to the same deal. I really love the Weedy, but it's just gotten way out of control. 7 sheets would have cost me 560 bucks. That's at that price. Now, granted, if you're a contractor, probably take 100 bucks off of that, but you're still like almost $500 just for the Weedy. You got to get the fasteners. You got to get the Weedy sealant. That stuff isn't cheap. And then again, you still have to waterproof the shower pan. So that's one of the reasons I kind of went with a cement board. It's wanted to liquid waterproof everything because you're still going to have to do the pan anyways. So Weedy came out to almost $900 for this shower system compared to the $580 that I used for cement board. And then if I would have went with Go board, it would have been another 100 bucks off. So 500 bucks. Schluter Cardi board, this stuff is not cheap either. If you look up at, you know, again, these are all retail prices, but you're looking at a 48. These are a little bit bigger sheets, so I didn't need as many sheets because they come in 48 by 64 inch deals. But yeah, $78 for a 4x5. Yeah, it's basically, is that what it is? Yeah, 4x5. So you get a little bit more square footage out of it. So yes, it's still pretty far up there. I would imagine that if you're a contractor, you could probably get that stuff for, I don't know, I can't remember what I was paying for it, maybe 55 bucks a sheet, something like that. Anyways, you still need the fasteners. You need a Cardi band over it, so that's one different thing compared to the other sealant applications. You're going to have to put a membrane over top of it. So that's over all the screw holes and all the different seams. This stuff isn't cheap. It's about 100 bucks for a 100-foot roll. That's probably what you would need for the entire shower. You're going to need thin set in this application because you're thin setting all of those membranes together. And then you'll need waterproofing for the shower pan, and I would just recommend just going with the actual Cardi membrane at that point. Make it all one system with the Cardi board. So 100 bucks, you would need the membrane for that, and then you'll need some corners for the corners of your shower as well. So Cardi board came out to about 755 bucks. That's definitely about what, $200 less than Weedy, but still $300 more my cheapest option. And then the sheet membrane, and this is one of the reasons why I've done this in the past, it's because it's just the most affordable way to go. So Schluter membrane, we would just use drywall in that situation. And then we would just basically thin set the membrane on top of it. So you'd need a 108 square foot roll for all the walls and the ceiling, and then you would need another roll for the floor because there's not enough in a roll to do that entire shower. So you're looking at about $265 for the curtain. Now you can probably, if as a contractor, you could buy a bigger roll and save yourself money there. You'll need the corners and you'll need the thin set. But look at that price, $395 to completely waterproof your shower with the thin set application. So that's a big ticket for a lot of people. It's just simply the cheapest way to waterproof your shower. Now there is arguments to be said that you can use cement board in something like Red Guard. I personally will not recommend it. I don't like it. You know, you need about 3 coats of it to actually get any type of good mill thickness to it. Takes forever to dry, but you can do it. You could definitely cheapen up the overall expense of that, but I don't think you're going to be, I mean, you're probably going to be around the go board price with the Red Guard, with the cement board, and then you have to account for the time. Now, granted, the thin set application of these membranes is not it's not an easy task. It definitely takes a lot of time to do. So keep that in mind. That's not a fun project. I don't personally like doing sheet membranes at all, but you know, you just think about how much money you saved yourself and it makes a big difference. So yeah, so that's kind of the equivalent. I should have put a chart together as well, just kind of share the overall thing. But yeah, the cement board with the Ardex 8+9, which we're going to be going over today, was kind of like right in the middle of overall cost. But I do really feel at the end of the day, it's one of the most foolproof systems, and it's, you know, like I was stating in the title, it's kind of bulletproof because it feels like a rhino liner at the end of the day. It feels really thick waterproofing. So getting into my course, we're going to go over a bunch of different things today. And a lot of it's going to be obviously going over the waterproofing system that we're going to be installing. So we'll just go do over a quick, we won't do all the videos on the cement board. I don't think it's necessary, but let's just go over hanging the ceiling with the cement board, and I'll get right back to you and we'll discuss some of the applications of that. So let me get my other video out here. Cement board ceiling, shrink this down. It's been actually a long time since I've actually used cement board. It's probably been 5 years probably, and it felt good. It felt good because that was definitely something that's all I used prior to a lot of these foam boards. And there is nothing else like that rock solid feel of it. It definitely feels like a quality product. So for this shower, we're going to be just doing good old cement board. It's been probably one of the longest lasting tile backer boards out there. So we're going to go old school with the cement board. It just takes a little bit more effort to cut, and then you have to waterproof it because this surface isn't waterproof. So there's a couple of steps and some time that you have to take with this. Now obviously all the foam boards that are out there, much quicker. You get right into tiling in the same day essentially. This is going to be a couple day process. When you can squeeze it down into a day with getting the waterproofing on this, but you're still going to be delayed on actually tiling it just because of the waterproofing that you're going to have to do. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of different ways of going about cutting cement board, but really the primary way is just a standard utility knife. And that's one thing about this, it's really tough to be completely accurate with cement board because it doesn't cut like drywall or other material. So we're going to go 35 inches, which is just cutting a little bit off of the edge here, and we're also going to just go seam the whole shower. So we're like, let's just cut the width first. We got 48.5 inches for our total width here. The T-square here, this is basically for drywall. So you can just put that on there and just score it. Once you have it scored, just snap it, cut it off. So as you can see, it's not exactly the cleanest, straightest cut, so you might have to clean some things up, but None of this has to be 100% accurate. Just give yourself a little bit of space so you're not like fighting this into place. Okay, and then since this is a ceiling, I am just going to put a little bit of adhesive. Obviously, I know where my edge is here. I'm just going to mark. Well, I can see where my joist is on that side too. So I'm just going to use a little bit of constructive adhesive. Okay, so this is just going to help adhere it to the ceiling. Probably not 100% necessary, but with the weight of tile and cement board, it's not a bad idea. So this is just like a polyurethane sealant. So with cement board screws, you want to use the screws that they come with, the alkaline resistant screws. 1 5/8 I would recommend. Okay, so yeah, it's just as easy as that. It isn't like cumbersome to cut. But Bonbon on YouTube mentioned, it said all the magic happens in the bottom of the shower. Most of the issues with waterproofing and things with showers is at the drain location. I 100% agree. The wall board, you know, is kind of debatable in some fashion of whether to waterproof the entire system. Is it really necessary? You know, it's a good question. There's definitely some showers I've torn out that were nothing but drywall, and they've lasted for like 40 years, no problem. Where all the issues were it's like right at the tub flange or the shower pan area, you know, where there was a lot more water saturation. So I 100% agree. Most of the issues are happening at the shower drain and on the pan, because that's where all the water is really primarily pulling and causing problems. So waterproofing that is the most important aspect. You know, as far as this cement board, it could be debatable whether you feel that it's completely necessary to waterproof all of the walls, especially the ceiling. It's not like it's a steam shower. So like, you know, what are you really, you know, guarding against, and is it complete overkill? And some might say yes, and I can't disagree. It definitely is a little bit of overkill. It's not a steam shower or anything like that. But cement board, pretty basic stuff. It's really, you know, the biggest thing is it just doesn't cut like all the foam boards. It's heavier. Somebody mentioned in here to use an oscillating tool. Definitely a way to go about it. Grinder as well. Just be careful of the dust. I used to inhale quite a bit of this stuff, and it's probably not any good for you. But most of the time, you know, you don't really have to be 100% accurate in some ways. I mean, you're supposed to leave a perimeter gap all the way around, like of 1/8 of an inch. So it's not a big deal. Just kind of measure and give yourself some leadway. Don't fight the stuff, because it's definitely not worth it. But yeah, so in my course, I always just kind of highlight things as far as, you know, going over it, so you don't have to like watch another video again. You'll be also have all the links and everything in here if you needed a drywall square. But yeah, I mean, pretty basic stuff. The adhesive that I used was just a polyurethane sealant. You could debate whether that's 100% necessary. I mean, 8 inches spacing on screws is definitely going to be sufficient no matter what. But what I do have in here is all my other links to my other courses that demonstrate the other systems. So the Go board installation in my 3-day tile shower course. I have Curdy board in my ultimate curbless shower course. So I go into using a shower pan going in a curbless fashion with the Curdy board. I have Weedy board in a regular shower, tiled shower. I also have a Weedy curbless shower in my ultimate curbless shower course as well, and then the Curdy sheet membrane in a curbless shower setting. So, you know, all these different courses are kind of interlinked, and I have all basically here for you to be able to easily get over to the next project. But going over the walls here, you know, we're not gonna watch this video. I don't, you know, if you want to watch this, you know, either get into the course or actually do have a latest YouTube video that kind of goes over this. But a lot of the same concepts here. Biggest thing here is that we were going to be going around a niche and cutting around that niche, so kind of demonstrating that as well. But all basic stuff. I mean, I usually just hang the top sheet first and then work my way down. It just seems to be the easiest way for me, and I like to have the wiggle room at the floor for the most part. And plus, if the floor isn't 100% level, if you try to set that first board down first, then you're kind of fighting your way all the way up. So make a square cut, start from your ceiling, work your way down. But this is where I also do recommend that oscillating tool, like I think Dan was mentioning on YouTube. That is definitely one awesome way to do it as well. I actually, to cut out this niche, I used a grinder with a dust extractor. That works great as well, so that made it really easy to be able to do that and be dust free. Biggest thing with the cement board is the dust for the most part. And don't worry about being 100% perfect, because you can patch any types of holes or imperfections on the cement board before you get into the actual liquid waterproofing. And again, I have all my courses with all the other aspects of it. So patching in any areas that you might have messed up on the cement board, this is a great way to go about it. We're going to get into it here. So let me get this other video that I have for you here, and we can discuss a little bit more about that. But this is something, you know, when people are somewhat afraid to do shower pans, like a mortar bed, you know, a lot of people ask me, like, why didn't you just go with a pre-sloped shower pan in this situation? Well, you know, it was actually going to be somewhat more work and troublesome to because I took out all the concrete in this basement bathroom so I can reroute all of my plumbing, and then I put insulation down and I did a heated flooring. To do one of those shower pan systems, it would have been pretty difficult to get heated flooring into the shower as well, and it's just a lot more work actually trying to make that area a drop down from the rest of the bathroom. So but what my point is that, you know, mortar beds, if you haven't done one before and you're a little bit leery of it, just know that you have plenty of time to correct any imperfections that you might have created in it through this process of basically using like a feather patch material. Now this is the material that you're putting before the waterproofing. So you want to do all your patching or anything that you have to do prior to the actual waterproofing. You don't want to be using this product to feather out anything afterwards, because it's not really meant for a wet area. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, let's just watch this short video, about 3 minutes, on patching this. But it really gives you a lot of extra insurance, because, you know, I know a lot of people feel a little bit stressed about doing an actual mortar bed, but a lot of circumstances it makes a lot of sense to do it. Yeah. All right, so cement board, really important to waterproof this. You know, this stuff is just simply water resistant and is actually your substrate for your waterproofing your tile. If you want a long lasting shower, you definitely need a waterproof. I'm not saying that you can't just tile over this. People have been doing that for decades. But again, if you want it long lasting, you want to waterproof it, especially in a curbless shower situation. So what we're going to be doing is a liquid waterproofing. So this is Ardex 8+9. It's a very simple process to actually roll this on. And in a lot of ways, the liquid waterproofing is probably one of the most foolproof way of waterproofing, because you're literally just painting it on and making sure that you get everything completely waterproof. But before we do that, we're going to use some feather finish just to fill in, just kind of like you do drywall. We're going to fill in some of the bigger gaps with this, and we're also going to make sure that our shower floor is nice and sloped as well. So if you were new to mud beds, you might have had an issue with getting your mud bed completely even, and this is a great way to patch that. But I'm going to fill in some of these bigger gaps that I have on my cement board. Not too many, but just enough to be able to fill it in so that when I do the liquid waterproofing, I don't have any issues. Okay, that's about all we need. We don't really need that much. But what's great about this stuff is that it dries within about 20 minutes. So I have a nice big gap right here. I'm just going to fill in. And really anywhere else that I see pretty sizable gaps. So right along my niche here. So I have about almost a ½ inch gap there. So I'll just fill that in. This is just going to make it easier to actually apply that liquid waterproofing and make sure that you don't have any uneven spots. And I have another chunk out of this cement board right here. Now you could use a mesh tape over this as well. That would strengthen it quite a bit. So you could do that, but honestly, we're going to be doing a waterproofing membrane on top of it, so it won't be 100% necessary. So the other thing you want to do is just check your shower pan. So if you didn't have an excellent execution of your shower pan, this is a great way to go ahead and patch any divots or anything that you might have, you know, if you had a bird's bath, you know, some kind of a low spot before your drain, you can always just fill this up. You honestly could skim the entire shower pan if you really wanted to. So what's great about it is that it doesn't require any primer. You can just go straight over the concrete surface or plywood, and you know, basically just a patch material. So really easy to use. I really don't have much wrong with my, I'm just going to fill in this little divot maybe right here, just kind of smooth it out a little bit. But I'm fairly happy with my, might as well just go all the way around here, make this nice and, so that's a big thing. I mean, if you didn't go perfectly on your floor, you can always patch it in. So very versatile with the mortar beds. You have plenty of chances to be able to get it right. But we have a nice, really good flow here, slope, and we're going to be able to start waterproofing this in about a half an hour or so. Okay, so like I said, plenty of chances to be able to fix any of your imperfections. It definitely took a longer than a half an hour for that stuff to set up before I can actually liquid waterproof over top of it. But you know, a couple other comments in here that I saw is somebody was asking me, I was saying Aaron off of Facebook says Den Shield is becoming very popular in commercial work. Yeah, Den Shield is kind of like a, basically, I mean, to me it feels like it's like an Ardex 8+9 that's already coated on the drywall, because it's like a, it's basically a gypsum product, but it has waterproofing on the outside. So you basically, you know, set it like cement board or anything else, and then you just have to treat the seams with a mesh tape or any type of tape with a liquid waterproofing of some sort. So you're just basically sealing the seams and the corners with it, and then in this instance you would be doing shower floor as well. So yeah, Den Shield makes a lot of sense. I've used it a couple times. It's hard to get where I am. I'm sure it's been a while since I've actually looked for it, so I'd have to really see how many distributors have it around. But I know, yeah, a lot of commercial vendors use Den Shield. That's definitely a great option for that as well. And Zedacry on YouTube asked me, why don't you use RedGuard or Latacrete waterproofing roll-on membranes? Yeah, absolutely, man. That is definitely a way to go. I personally just do not like RedGuard. I don't like using it. I don't think it's a very great product. It takes a lot of coats to actually get it the mill thickness that they want you to have it at. It's just a crappy product if you ask me. So I don't really like RedGuard. It's something that I would use if I was like, if I didn't have anything else around me, I'd go ahead and use it. Now Latacrete, yeah, there's an argument to say that that's definitely a great product. I've used a ton of Hydroban, very, very pleased with it. I just ultimately feel that Ardex 8+9 is actually, you know, as far as the durability of the liquid waterproofing is just, honestly, it's a better, thicker, more durable product. But hey, at the end of the day, all you're doing is waterproofing the shower before towel. So, you know, Latacrete's definitely a great product as well. I can't say anything bad about that. And that's definitely a way to go as well. And it would be easier than this 8+9. This 8+9 does have its drawbacks as far as like the setting up time. And it, you know, you'll see here when I do all my seams and stuff like that, it actually is kind of labor intensive in a sense to do as well. So, but getting into back to my course here, I always have things lined up here that kind of highlight just the kind of talking points of what we went through here. We'll click out of this video here. But yeah, 8+9, it's not a cheap product, you know, and like comparable to, what do you call it, Latacrete's Hydroban, it's about the same price, only you're going to get a lot less square footage out of the Ardex 8+9. So $118, definitely not a cheap product. And I actually used 3 units of this for this particular shower. We'll get into the reasons why that is, and just maybe, you know, maybe you can just consider it a little bit overkill on the way I went about it. So yeah, that Let me get back over to my course here. So the 8+9, always have the link in here to be able for you to find it. Feather finish. Henry also makes the same kind of product. Any type of mortar patch material is what you want to use to fill in any of these imperfections. Just make sure that it's able to fill in the gaps that you actually want it to. And all this stuff, I mean, besides maybe this 1/2 inch gap that I have here, you know, you could either have used thin set in this application, honestly, and some of the other stuff was just actually being a little bit nitpicky. You didn't even have to do anything at all, and you'll see why when I actually do the liquid waterproofing, because most of these, like the 8+9, can go up to 1/8 inch gaps and just fill in over everything. Same with Laticrete. Red Guard, forget it. It's just gonna, you better patch those areas before you Red Guard it. And really with Red Guard, you're gonna want to basically treat all the seams of your cement board with thin set and the membrane before going about it. But again, this is just a great way to be able to patch any imperfections you might have on your shower pan using that feather finish. All right, so getting into our main part of our tutorial here is the Ardex 8+9. And what I've done here is used the membrane for all the corners. I think it really is important to have the corners sealed between the mortar bed and the walls. As far as the rest of it, that is very debatable on whether that's needed or not. It's just extra insurance. It's just as a way to treat the seam. So I kind of went, you know, someone could say that I went completely overkill, and that's why I used more of the product than I necessarily had to. But yeah, let's get into this video. And this one's a little bit longer length. We might skip through some of it depending on whether I find it to be important or not, but it's about a 10-minute video here. And then we'll discuss. So if you guys have any questions, I'll definitely be looking in the comments here as well. So let me click myself off of here. It did take a little bit longer than a half an hour to get this to be dry. So make sure you allot yourself some time if you're actually going to fill in these areas. But liquid waterproofing, like I said, is really a very simple process. I feel like it's a really foolproof way to go about doing this, especially since you're just basically painting it on. But a couple things you want to get in addition for your shower, and one is the membrane. This is to go around the corners of your shower, along with just a regular standard roller with a 3/8 inch nap roller, a 4-inch brush, and some gloves. You don't really want to have this stuff all over you. I most likely will have it all over me by the time I'm done. But one thing about Ardex that I really like using this liquid waterproofing is that it dries in about an hour and a half, and you go ahead and put your second coat on. So unlike other brands like Red Guard and other liquid waterproofings that come in a pail that's already pre-mixed, they take a lot longer to dry. This is going to go set up a lot faster. It also means you have to work a little bit quicker too. You only get about a half hour's worth of pot life of spreading this. So once you get started, don't take a break, get everything done. Now, you can mix smaller quantities of this. So if you didn't want to mix the whole thing all together, you could. And actually, the way that I went about filling in these bigger gaps, you could have actually made it a thicker consistency and filled in those things. Areas like screw holes and bigger areas, you know, like maybe you had a bigger gap in between your boards or something, you can fill that in. That's why we use the patch material. I think it makes sense because really I want to mix this entire thing all together, do my seams and waterproof this shower, at least get one coat. You really want to have 2 coats of this on here. So the first coat is going to entail doing the corners and all of the board. But if I go to mix a smaller quantity and I don't use it all and I kind of waste it, you're kind of wasting the material. That's why I like to just mix it all together. But you do have to kind of work efficiently to get it done. You don't want to be taking too much time. So really simple, just basically the entire bucket or the entire quantity of the liquid. And I'm just going to take my 4-inch brush and paint the surface. And just basically coat right over that. Make sure you have enough underneath it here for it to bond. We're going to do the same thing on this seam between the drywall and the ceiling. And don't worry about, you know, basically overhanging the drywall. If anything's overhanging after the tile, you know, you could just use a drywall button and feather that over. Yeah. So where these boards meet, it would feel like a thin set after this dries, so you could technically just leave that. But this is going to be a better seam here, is using the board tape. Make sure that kind of stays flat as you can. Keep this stuff flat. A coat on this. Now we're not going to band this. We're just going to use some of this material to fill in any of the gaps, because I want to have a couple coats on this niche. Okay, so before we go mixing the second one to finish this off, just make sure we wipe any of these drips off of here, make sure that it stays flat, because once this hardens up, it gets really difficult to do anything. Okay, so on this section, I'd recommend going all the way across this entrance. Since this is a curbless shower, I find this to be an important aspect of waterproofing. It has to go all the way across here. So that's a really critical area. It's like right here at the entrance of the shower. So that everything's waterproof, and we'll do the same thing on this other side. At least got the shower area done. The outside floor isn't quite as important. Okay, so that takes care of our first coat, essentially. Now, you do hog up a lot when you actually put those seams on there. That definitely takes up a lot of additional product. It's supposed to cover about 100 square feet. This is obviously not, what is this, 437? It's about a 100 square foot shower. So I used, you know, what they say, it's 200 square feet of the stuff. But that's mainly because of embedding all of this. If you would have just went straight over the cement board, you would have gotten a lot further. But we'll just do a second coat, and we'll also do the floor, and that'll be good. But it's really important to at least get 2 coats on the floor and the walls. As far as the outside floor, it's, you know, it's debatable. It's not really that big of a deal to be 100% waterproof, especially in a basement. All right, so second coat. Obviously I'm doing this the next day. You could have done this in about an hour and a half or so, or as soon as it would stop being tacky. But you're gonna need another brush, and we're just gonna basically definitely make sure we get a nice decent coat in our niche. Make sure we fill up any of those cracks. And by the way, this stuff will ruin all of your clothes. This stuff is really some pretty strong stuff. It does feel like those rhino liners that you put in your trucks. It feels like that because it's like it's not rubber, but it just has such a thick, strong coating. So there's no doubt that this is definitely a stronger type of material than a lot of the other liquid waterproofings that you can get. And I really do feel like it's the difference between a two-part like epoxy and just like a regular grout. It's definitely going to be stronger being a two-part epoxy. So this is some bulletproof stuff for sure. So with these little rubber gaskets. All right, so now we're 100% waterproof. This also acts as kind of an isolation membrane, so it's separating the towel from the actual floor leveler, which kind of gives it a little bit more stability. And yeah, I think you're good on one coat on the outside floor. Depends on how crazy you want to go. I mean, you can obviously do another coat on the entire floor, but being curbless, it is important to get everything waterproof. So if any water seeped through the thin set layer, you'll be in good shape. But this is an excellent product. It'll definitely be a good foundation for your tile. Okay, so now if a tsunami ever came through, this bathroom is going to be the only thing that lasts. So yeah, there was a couple of people that were asking me, you know, what about KBRS, shower seal, and go board? Definitely acceptable way to go, man. Definitely a way to go. You know, but like I was saying here, as far as liquid waterproofing goes, I really could find it hard to believe that there's anything else out there stronger and more thicker and consistent as the Ardex 8+9. Like I said, it's like a rhino liner. It has such a thick consistency to it. It's probably one of the most durable type of waterproofings you can do. And I really feel at the end of the day, like liquid waterproofing everything is the most foolproof way to go, because you know, you're sealing all those corners of those showers. You're not relying on any you know, thin set and mesh, any type of membrane, you know, so you're not going to have any of those thin set errors that a lot of people have. You're able to, you know, especially when you do 2 coats of this stuff, it's really well bonded. So it's definitely a struggle. It definitely, I mean, not a struggle, but it's definitely some thick stuff. It's a workout, and you have to kind of work fairly quickly to get that all in. And like I was mentioning, it might be, you know, completely overkill to be doing this for all the seams with that actual mesh membrane. And it actually does become kind of fairly expensive too, because that membrane that we were using, it's not cheap stuff. I mean, the Ardex stuff, I think was, I'll have to look it up. I have it here. Ardex seam tape here. I have it in my link on my course here. But that roll is $82. So that's definitely not cheap. And but I do believe that you should have something like that at least for the corners of your shower. So even if you were going to be doing go board, or you're going to be doing some other kind of foam board on the outside, on the exterior, I still think it's a good idea to use a mesh in those corners to make sure that everything's really well sealed. Now, as far as these upper corners, And all of those seams, you really didn't have to do that. This does allow you to go over up to an 1/8 inch gaps on your cement board. So you could have just actually done 2 coats of the membrane and just left it at that. And I think at the end of the day on that, I probably would have gone through 2 units. So I would have saved myself 118 bucks by not doing all of this extra waterproofing. But as you can see, it's definitely it's definitely bulletproof having all of these seams treated. I basically used one entire batch of this stuff, just putting all of that together, and then having the ceiling waterproofed as well. I don't, this has actually been, I can't remember the last time I did a shower ceiling with tile. It's been a really long time. But typically I don't usually do the ceilings. It's usually just drywall ever straight at the seams there. So, but this is probably the most critical area right here. I just want to highlight this. That's why I highlighted in my course. So you could just browse through there and know what important parts out of that video. I wouldn't want you to have to watch another 10-minute video again and just get a single answer on something. But I do think that this is probably the most critical area to waterproof, right outside of the shower area, on each side of the corners of the shower. So seaming that all the way across the bathroom floor will eliminate if your shower doors weren't holding the water in for any reason. And for whatever reason, if the thin set layer allowed, siphoning of water to come through capillary water movement outside of the shower for any reason, it's going to be waterproof. So, this is probably the most key 2 points to waterproof, is all the corners of the shower and then extending it outside of the shower as well. This will really prevent a lot of future damage from ever existing and having any types of issues. So yeah, but it's you definitely are you're always trying to stretch this stuff because there's only so much in the bucket. So even like my first coat, I was really struggling to get a first coat on everything. But again, I mean, this is just cement board. It's debatable whether you really feel like you need to do everything. I do think it's absolutely important for a recessed niche to make sure that you waterproof that, because that's obviously a horizontal surface where water is going to come into, and you want to make sure that it's able to exit the system. These pipe seals, this is not part of Ardex, but it was just a couple of regular pipe seals I just got off of Amazon, 10 bucks a piece. So that's just kind of gives you extra insurance around the shower valve, and then just doing a full second coat. So that's really all it takes to waterproof it in the liquid waterproofing. And again, I have all my other courses that highlight all the different ways about going about this. Not all of them. I'm accumulating. So, I'll probably eventually do a KBRS shower pan. I'll probably do a pay, shower system, and, just kind of get them all in here so that we have references to see what's the better way to go. So, yeah, so that really highlights my topic for this evening. But yeah, looking at my just to show you where we're at right now, we have everything tiled and we're basically ready for since it's a pebblestone floor, I'm going to have to seal this. So I'm going to seal that tomorrow before grouting, and we're going to actually use Ardex WA epoxy grout. I felt that it was important to do epoxy in a basement bathroom just for longevity reasons. Most people use basement bathrooms because they were working on the car or something, and the wife says go downstairs and use the basement shower. So I think epoxy is going to make a lot of sense if you're looking for a grout that will always be able to be brought back to life or back to its original color. I'd say epoxy is definitely it. So are there similar performing spray options, or can 8+9 be thinned down to spray? Aaron on Facebook asked. No, I don't believe there is anything you can spray. I would not want to spray that stuff. First off, it's too thick. I don't think you can thin it down. I don't think there's any way to be able to do that. That would be nice. It would be nice to spray, but that could become quite a disaster as well. So Antonio Johnson, this is good stuff. I started to use Ardex +9, the Ardex sealant in the tubes. Good Lord almighty, powerful stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. Ardex definitely makes a lot of great stuff. I've been using their thin set for over decades now. Well, probably since I really, I was having a lot of troubles with mosaics. So, this is 15 years ago, so a lot of people were, I mean, still people are doing it, but like a lot of those little thin glass mosaics, and a lot of people wanted to have like a waterfall feature created out of them. So floor to ceiling and just using those little mosaics. And I was having problems with, you know, when I was thin setting them into place, that the weight of the tile, by the time I got up to like 5 foot, they started bowing out the tile. And I was like, there has to be a better way to be able to adhere these. There are obviously a lot of better ways, but that's when I found Ardex thin sets, and I started using Ardex X 77, and that just changed my entire tiling career. I could honestly say that kind of changed my tiling career, because it made everything so much easier to install tile, and you know, because of the non-sag quality of it, it just takes all the weight off of the tile, and you're able to set things where you need them to be. And then on top of that, which is a big bonus, is that you get like 4 hours of pot life out of the thin set. So if you're new to tiling and you're making all these cuts and adjustment cuts and whatnot, you know, the thin set lasts a very long time in the bucket. So even on this pebble stone floor I put here, this took all day, basically. It took a ridiculous amount of time because I actually went ahead and individually set all of these. But I used the Ardex 8 X5, and I started at, well, we didn't get started filming till like 10:30 this morning, and I finished up around 4, and I was still able to re-whip up the thin set and be able to finish this off. So, I mean, it's a colder in this basement, so your environment makes a big difference. But I almost got 5-6 hours out of the time out of that one bucket of thin set. It's absolutely amazing. So it definitely gives you a lot of great extra time. So Brian Park says on YouTube, should I be concerned by a contractor who's not familiar with Schluter Ditra? Yeah, I would be a little concerned about that. I'm not sure how you wouldn't be familiar with it or haven't seen it. You know, that's really been a big difference. I mean, maybe he's still stuck in doing cement board. I don't know. I mean, I guess you don't have to always jump on all the new trends, but it definitely makes it a lot easier. So Splaza says, just when you were turning me on the Go board, now this system. Yeah, man. Well, I'm trying them all. I mean, you know, in Go board, don't get me wrong. All these different systems that I highlighted here, they're all. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all you're doing is waterproofing your shower system. So, you know, whether it's Go board, whether it's the cement board with the 8+9, Weedy, Schluter Curdy board, Schluter membrane. I mean, these are all great systems, and they all function the same way. You know, but you know, there is some things to be said about, like, you know, which one's the most you know, durable out of all of them. It's kind of hard to beat cement board and this Ardex 8+9 or any liquid waterproof. Cement board and any liquid waterproofing. It is kind of hard to beat to a certain extent because it is rock solid. It is a concrete board after all, and yeah, I mean, it's just there's just more some time. Now, I mean, you know, if I was in a hustle and I really needed to get things done, I'd probably go with the Go board, because I know you can finish that. You can basically hang all that, finish your shower niche, get all that sealed there, and then do a liquid waterproofing on the shower floor, and you could possibly get into the tiling of the floor the first day in that scenario. Or, you know, what a lot of tile setters do is that they use a Schluter Curdy membrane. So I know Slav de Blasi, who was on here, he says he always uses sheet membranes because he doesn't want to have to wait around. So he always does, you know, a roll of Schluter membrane over his shower pan, his mud shower pan, and then he can start tiling the floor. So that, you know, if you're talking about efficiency and quickness, yeah, it's hard to beat. Go board and then a sheet membrane over your mortar bed. I mean, you're able to probably tile that shower floor that night. Now, in this particular situation, you know, I did the pebble stone floor last. This is probably the only prod type of tile that I would recommend, unless you're doing some kind of real intricate pattern of some sort, where you do the floor last. I always recommend to do the floor first, so that your wall tile overhang your shower floor tile. It just makes it a lot easier, especially if anything's a little bit unsquare. It makes it just easier to be able to do that. And then if you're doing bigger tile on the outside floor, I recommend doing that first, and then the shower floor, and then all the walls. But in this scenario, we're doing pebblestone all the way through the entire bathroom. So there was, you know, it was the last thing that I was doing. So that's probably really one of the only scenarios that I recommend doing that afterwards. So if he doesn't know Schluter, odds that he's never taken a tiling course. That is very correct, Larry, on YouTube. He's talking about the guy who doesn't know about Ditra and whether he should be concerned. Yeah, I would say you should be a little bit concerned if a contractor doesn't know about Schluter and Ditra. Like how much tile has he really been doing, I guess, is the question. So, yeah, Aaron on Facebook says, "Wow, that's an incredible pot life." Yeah, I mean, it is. It really, truly is, and it really depends on your environment. If it's a hot, dry day and you have sun coming into your bathroom, I mean, it's going to obviously set up really quickly. But it really is one of the longest lasting stuff that I've ever used. So, so BBG on Belia on YouTube. What Larry S says, I'm contemplating DIY my first shower, but I have at least 200 YouTube hours of what systems are out there. Okay, well that's good, man. Yeah, there's a lot. That's one great thing about YouTube and all of this social media stuff is you're able to find out about all this stuff. I mean, I started in the year 2000 on this, and obviously that was the beginning era of the internet, and it was just not. There wasn't that much. There was some talk forums that I think started popping up in 2002 and 2003. But being able to just, you know, how do you tile shower or how do you waterproof a shower and be able to find, you know, a million different videos out there. It's phenomenal. So, but that's why I like to do all these different systems. Not only am I throwing out a wide net of, you know, to different people that have different abilities to get different things, different types of products, but it also gives me more knowledge about each type of product, what I like to do. Now, I will admit, I don't like the sheet membranes. I don't mind it just doing it for like a shower floor or something, but I really dislike doing the sheet membranes all the way around the shower. It's just, I've done it multiple times, probably half a dozen times now at this point, and every single time I've just been an absolute mess with it, and it just isn't fun. I just don't enjoy it. I'd much rather be using this liquid waterproofing than that. So, you know, but yeah, so it's definitely a lot of choices out there, a lot of people you can follow. You know, one guy that does a lot of great stuff, as you probably know, is Tile Coach. He's always pulling apart all these systems and showing all the failures. Very valuable information. So definitely check out his channel. I'm always keeping an eye on his failure videos because they're really enlightening. You know, it really shows, you know, some of the pitfalls, maybe some of the things that people are doing incorrectly, not paying attention to. And that's where some of these sheet membranes can be a problem. You know, if you don't have the right thin set ratio for your membranes for doing Schluter, you can definitely screw up a waterproofing system. That's what I'm saying. Like the liquid waterproofing to a certain extent, it's kind of foolproof. You know, as long as you're able to paint that brush into that corner, you know you're going to be pretty good. So, yeah, Farrah says on Facebook, I will be starting my first bathroom renovation of my house after watching your videos. Thanks again. No problem, man. That's why I'm here. So I really appreciate everybody being here. I don't know how long we've been out here today. It's been an hour, so the same amount of time here. But I hope you got some value out of that one. You know, one of these days, I'd love to actually get Tile Coach on here so we can discuss some of the failures of different products and things. But yeah, definitely check out, you know, any of you guys who are planning on doing a bathroom renovation, definitely check out my DIY Geek membership. And it incorporates all of my courses that I have on here. And I guarantee you'll learn something and save yourself a lot of time and headache. And I'm always here in the comments of this course as well. So if you had any questions about your own particular bathroom, I'm more than happy to help you out. So thanks again, everyone, for joining me tonight. Again, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much.